Gemara. Today's daf is daf Samar Gimel, and continuing on the Gemara from yesterday, where we had the very Rabbi Yanai. What they would do very nicely was they would buy the fruits of Shemitah from the poor in the 7th year and then give them in the 8th year. And we want to know why doesn't the kedusha transfer onto that? And we said it doesn't transfer because you didn't give it straight away as a deal. It came in the 8th year when the Preda Shemitah is no longer around, so therefore the kedusha doesn't get transferred to that. And and then we said the similar thing, that concept by an esnan. You give if someone has relations with a harlot and gives her a gift, that gift cannot, let's say a sheep, cannot be put on the mizbech. But to give it to her later, then that could be used. And that's roughly we discussed another case of esnan yesterday, and today we're going to focus on that. And just very quickly, there's a big machlekes rishonim. How we an unbelievable chiddush, a way of getting around the problem. You have real yayin nesach. Now we know that when you have yayin nesach, you can't sell it. The money becomes asr, and even if you sell it, any money that you get for it is derivative from something which is forbidden to have any pleasure. It's asr. So it comes up a chachma like this: you sell it to a goy, and you tell a goy, "Don't pay me now. Pay me tomorrow. Pay me in a month." So when you got the money, you're no longer giving him the yayin nesach is no longer with you. So the iser hana of the yayin nesach does not get transferred to that money, and you can use that money. Now that's the view of many rishonim, and within that there's a machlekes, like Tosfos brings Rabbi Elchanan and others. There's a machlekes according to Rabbi Elchanan, the item. In other words, you sell the yayin nesach to a goy, but we don't want the yayin nesach to exist at all. So the goy has to then on to sell to somebody else before he gives you the money. Or whatever, yeah, we'll drink it. As long as it's no longer in the world at the time. And selling it to another guy is considered no longer in the world. Other Rishonim say it doesn't matter if it's still in the world, as long as it's not in your world anymore. You have given up the yayin nesach, and now a month later you get cash for it, that the isha does not get transferred to that cash. In other words, the Rabbi Yana didn't have to wait for the 8th year to give them. They could have given them in the 7th year, as long as they didn't do it at the same time. But later on, and you're not giving one against the other, it's all right. The Ramban comes out vehemently against that, and so on, and then the Ran tries to answer everybody else, and so the big machlekes. But here's an interesting way of how to get around the problem of yayin nesach according to many rishonim. Now we're up to the Gemara of Samagim and Aleph, the first wide line, the second wide line. So we said, as an analogy to what Rabbi Yana did, is what happens if Bo'oleh, he had relations with the harlot, and he gave her the gift later. So then we say that the iser, what you did, does not get transferred to the sheep to say, oh, you cannot bring it up as a carbon because it wasn't around at the time. It wasn't directly connected. You gave it to later. You're doing it because of that. Why else are you giving it to her? It doesn't matter. It has to be like simultaneous. Mutter. Says the Gemara, let me ask a question. So that's what this Braisa says. That's mutter. But I mean, another Braisa, it says clearly if you gave her the gift later, 3 years later. We say there is a relationship between the Avera you did and the payment you gave in lieu. So what's going on over here? A contradiction of two Braisas. So how we deal with that? He answers like Kasha. It depends. When you gave her when you had your relations, what did you say? You said to her, he's barley if you designated a sheep, even though you didn't give it to her yet. The fact that you designated a sheep means that there's already a connection between this sheep and the Aveda. So I don't care, you give it 3 years later, it's still, it's like exactly. It's similar. If you said to her, he's barley stam, I would pay you with a sheep. So then there's no connection at all with the Aveda we did now. If I don't give it to her now, but a month later, it's 5 minutes tomorrow, it's all right. If there's a Bryce that says us, it's talking about you said tlezeh. Says the Gemara, I don't understand. Just because you designated it, if the din is that if there's no attachment between this particular item and the Aveda, the Isha Hano does not get transferred, just because you added the word zeh, this, so what? Now, the fact is there was no kinyan made. There's a machlekes, what's the best kinyan, meshicha or money? But there's a machlekes we had already in other places, and we'll also have in B'chayos, that Shlokish Rabbi Yechon, when it comes to a goy, is the primary kinyan for goy wants to acquire something. Now, by Yid is kesef with the Rabban Machlekes Mahatoyda Meshicha, or the Rabban said we want Meshicha, we're looking for Hazov, because otherwise, you'll pay the guy money, and there's a fire, he'll let it, or there's a flood, he'll let it get ruined. He got his money already. But what do you call it? By a goy, how a goy is kind of Machlekes Rabbi Yochanan Shlakish. Is he kind of is a goy kind of with Meshicha, or a goy kind of with money? So the Gemara said right now we're following the Shlakish that a goy is kind of Mashiach, and nothing happened. There was no the goy did not. You didn't give it to the goy yet, so the goy didn't take it. So it's just because you said zeh. So what? If the din is that it doesn't get transferred unless you do it at the time, so nothing happened. Says the sorry. So Gemara says bezoyne. So we can answer. You know what? Bezoyne oivedes kechavim. We're talking about a goy. The loikanya Mashiach. This follows a Shlakish who holds that a goy is only kind of with money. So what is a Mashiach? It's money. And what's the money here? What's the payment? The Avera. I'm giving you a sheep. What am I buying? The Avera, isn't this? So therefore, that's Kesef. And that's why when you said there, it's as if you already paid. I don't know if you give it physically to her 3 years later, as if she was kind of, and if it's awesome. Or he buys him, you don't follow Shlakit. Let's say hold like Rabbi Yochanan Taka, that it's Mashiach. So the question is, so what if he said Zeh? How did it become hers? Why should it be also 3 years later? Oh, we're talking about a Yisraelis. The koi bechatzeda. You already put it in the chatz. It's already in the courtyard of the Zoyna. It's already in her courtyard, and therefore there's a connection. Says the Gemara, the moment you put it in the courtyard, it's already hers. So what are you telling me? This is a case of Baal. They had relations. They gave it to her. Kanula. You gave her in the morning before you had the Avera, so she's already hers. We're talking about here the Shavya Nela Paitika. You said, I'm going to owe you something. This is my guarantee that if it doesn't work out, you can have this. So at this time, it's not yours yet. If I bring you money, then this is not yours. But if not, if not, take it from back to Aveda that we did. If I don't, but he didn't say. But he didn't say then. He didn't say the words retrospectively. From the moment it comes due, if I don't come back, you can have it. From that moment and onwards. Here we're saying it's yours from the Ma'isa Aveda. So therefore, it's considered Bol Leva Achakach. Why is it called Achakach in this case? Because it's not hers yet, even though it's sitting in her chutzah. But it becomes also because if you don't give anything else but this, it's retrospective to the Avera. Okay, we'll continue. Yesterday, we're talking about the idea that the Veda Biana, that you gave the Paris the following year, since it's not around at the time of the Isa doesn't get transferred. So we said the same thing by Esnan. But the problem is we found the Braisa that says clearly that if you gave her the sheep a month later, it is also. How do you reconcile that? So we're saying now, I was talking about that you said this sheep, Tleh, this Tleh, and what do you call it? And therefore, even though you gave it to her later, since it's like if you hold money as kind of the kinya took place then, and that's what that Braisa is talking about. He said, "Our Braisa said, Stam, I'll give you a sheep." Or the other shot is you put it in the chutzner, but you said it's not yours. I plan to pay you money. But if I don't pay you, then it's kind of now from the Vishas from the Aveda. So therefore, it's considered acher. You gave it to her afterwards, but it's connected to the Aveda, and therefore it's also. That's the second Braisa. And our Braisa is talking about a normal case. Then you want to must say the last line. And Abshay should ask, if a person says lechamorov to the guy who freighted his things or the pile up to his workers, I have to pay you. I'll tell you what. L'chugo the eat bedinazeh. Here is your money. Go buy yourself food. Su v'shtu bedinazeh. Go buy yourself drink. Payment. The ainul choshev. Now, because he gave it to them, the money, it's like their money. So if they take that money and buy things which are usher, it's not my money. I already gave to them. Loi mishum shvius. I'm not worried about that might pay the shmita from somebody that is selling them as a business, which you're not allowed to. Is that my problem? You still see the contrast, other case. And what do you call it? Nor are you worried about Maisa. They're going to buy food that's not that was Maisa wasn't given from it. So it comes out that I'm the one who's giving them. I'm feeding them. Am I feeding them food that was not given? Tevel that wasn't given Maisa. And v'loy mishum yayin nesach. If let's say this guy is a goy and he buys yayin nesach, am I the one who's giving him yayin nesach and so on? Because I'm responsible to feed them, and that's my money. It's all right. But if he said to them, go eat, and then I'll pay the storekeeper. So they're eating on my cheshbon. And when I'm paying, my money is for the yayin nesach. My money is for the meiser. In the first case, you gave them the money, do whatever, go buy yourself food. Okay, it's their money. They do whatever they want. It's their problem. But if I say you do whatever it is, that I will pay for it, that means when I'm going to the store and paying, my money is going for the yayin nesach. My money is going for the table. That's the problem. But if he said, we're worried about it. Alma, what do we see from here? He para when he pays me'isik para. Why is it a problem? Because his money is for the isser, but they already ate it. When he goes and pays the next day, the next week, the guy gives him a reckoning. Okay, you owe me $100 for what I fed your employees last week. What's the problem? I said, if you pay the money afterwards, not a problem. Now, the big machlek is a shayim I told you last time, whether the original has to be completely disappeared, or even if it's here, but it's not near the shus anymore. Here, they ate it. That's according to holidays. It's no longer here. According to Rabbi Yana, I know that. Why and what's the problem? Why, if you told them I'll pay, is there a problem? But you're paying after they ate it already. No longer here. What's the problem? How does the issue get transferred to that money? So the Gemara. So now we're asking a question on Rabbi Yana. So the Gemara, Targum of Chizda, we're talking about it here, but Chenveni Hamakifoy. Even though he paid him, let's say, a week later, there's two kinds of Chenvenis we're going to say here. A Chenveni that you have an account with, trusts you. So the moment that he gives because of you, it's as if you already paid him right now, and therefore your money is connected to the food, and that's the problem. Or a Chenveni that doesn't know you. It's a new account. Or it's a tourist place, so there's no such thing. So then you have no connection to the food until you actually pay for it. And then it's a week later, no connection. There's no guess. And the case of the poor, that's exactly what it is. You don't have a account with the poor. So therefore, when you give the money, when you give him the payers, that's when you gave him. And there's no connection to what happened, last year you took them and paid the shvius on the bar. So since it's common that what you market that your land, so therefore the dinner is as if he's already koine, as if you already gave it to the poor, to the chenveni, and therefore the issa that they're eating now is transferred to the money, even though physically you didn't give the money until a week later. It's as if you already gave it to the chenveni. Avo chenveni shema kifa, you have no connection with it, whatever. Then my mutter for my question. You tell me it's mutter. That's what you're trying to say, right? That no connection. That's the case of Rabbi Yana. He doesn't know the poor people. He just goes to the poor and wants to help them out. So therefore, over there, nothing happened until you physically transfer the new payers, and therefore there's no connection between the old payers and the new payers. Why does he say to him, go ahead and eat with this dinner? Why draw that contrast? Make a bigger kiddush. Live like the listening in the very first case. That what? That's awesome. But a chenveni has no connection with the mutter. Stay within the same case. It depends on who the chenveni is. Instead of making such a whole different case, whether you gave them the dinner or you told them you go and I'll pay for it. But furthermore, another question. We had this inclusion of Zayin there. We have a concept called Bedin Orev. That if a guy says to Shimon, if the woman says, give money to that person, and I'll be Mekudesh to that to whatever to you, or whatever it is, even though she didn't get a penny. But since you gave that money to that third party because of her, she gets that. No, it's as if you gave it to her. The same thing over here. Even if you have no connection to the storekeeper, if the storekeeper gave the food to that other party, I'm already connected. I'm like an olive. But you did it because of me. So what's the difference? Oh, it's as if you didn't pay the money already straight away. 10 money on the plane, you give money to that guy. And the will be, guaranteed, whatever. I'll tell you the answer. I don't get a storekeeper if you know the guy. You don't know the guy. He lends you normally, doesn't. The difference is now what? That since you didn't tell them which money it is are you giving him, So therefore, nothing was transferred yet. So there's no Issa yet being transferred that you pay a week later. So the Gemara, L.A. Bazay, but you said you'll ask me a question then. Is a hach over here? Am I chayshish mishum shviz? Why are you chayshish? Because shviz. Halayim yachid shebudei. In our case over here, you're saying to the storekeeper that it's a problem if he gave it to if if he says take this and go ahead and buy. If it was not a yachid shebudei, there's no connection whatsoever. If he said to them, "I'm going to pay you later," we said that's the problem, right? He's buying the shemitah, he's buying the yain nesach. But if he wasn't miyachid shebudei, then according to Rabbi Yana, there's no connection between the money you're giving and the Isur that they ate, and therefore the money is not like you're paying for Isur Hana. So what's the shot in the Braisa? It says there, but if he said to them, "You guys eat, you guys drink, and I'll pay the storekeeper," it's a problem. But if you want miyachet shebudi, because by money you don't say this is the money, so what's the problem? But a papa goes, "You hektim loy dinner." You know what we're talking about over here? He actually went to this. You're right. It would be no problem if he told them, "Go ahead and eat, go ahead and drink, and I will pay the storekeeper." There's no problem because by the time you pay the storekeeper, the food is gone, or at least the food is another rishus, and therefore there's no direct swap. It'll be mutter. The problem over here is says that papa, the Bryce is talking about. You went to the storekeeper, and said, "Here's the $10," and when they come in to eat, let them eat whatever they want up to that value. The money's there, right? Amar Rav Kana, dinner. Amar Rav Kana said, "Amrita l'shmaite kamed." I repeated this whole shakla v'taya before I was in the doyi. Amle, he said to me, "Hachiv." So then the wording is wrong. So why does he tell his employees to go v'ichlu and eat, to go and stew and drink, v'ani poirei, and I will pay. So I'll make a reckoning. Not I'll pay. He already paid. He already gave the money prior to the coming deed. Going the way that Papa's learning. So he should say, and you guys eat whatever you drink, and then I'll make a cheshbon with the storekeeper. I already paid him. Amala, you're right. Tani, amend the brayser. So you go do your thing, and I'll make a reckoning. Rav Ashi says, I'll give you another answer. You know what's talking about over here? You're going, for example, to Notl v'Nasim biyad. He went physically to the store and took the food and brought it to the workers, and that's why the money is a problem because in that case, because it's mamish direct. So why does he tell the employees to go out there and eat as if you still have to go to the store or to you should say, you should say, come and get your food, come and take your drink. Amel tani taka amend the brayse tluva ichlu tluva shtu. That Gemara Yosef Rav Nachman sat there ula and Ravim my bab poppy the Yosef Rav Chia sat Rav Chia Barami Gabayu the Yosef all sitting. This is a very important, very interesting taste. They said whenever you find these Gemaras, people sitting and then they mention, and there's another guy there. Why been mentioned? And are we mentioning everybody who sat around to listen in? No, we're only mentioning people who were involved in this whole conversation. So this one, the Yosef Rav Chia Barami Gabayu, because he was involved, if not in this conversation, other conversations. This is an interesting taste. Yes, Rav Chia. This taste is right. This is interesting about it. Combine the following. You hired somebody to work with the Yain Nesach, but to destroy it. What are you doing it? Destroy it. What happens then? Mi amrina. What's the shayla? Of course you should. No. Because till you destroy it, you want the Yain Nesach to exist so I can get paid for destroying it. If it spills out, somebody turned the barrel over or broke before I got there, I don't get paid. So therefore, I'm davening, please, the Yain Nesach should stay intact. I'm a Reitze B'Kiyumei, and that in itself is a problem. I'll be Reitze B'Kiyumei. But over here, I want to be Reitze B'Kiyumei in order to be kind in the midst of destroying it. How do we view that? So the Gemara, even the Reitze B'Kiyumei, also, since he wants a Kiyumei, is also ideal, perhaps, Kol L'Mu'ute Tifla Shaperdami. Since my purpose is to remove this abomination and the shtus, it's all right. Omar Rab Nachman said, Yishboi V'Tov L'Bracha. Good on him, good on him. That even though I'm doing something wrong, but if the purpose is in order to destroy it, it's all right. For example, it says, "Ein oidri," you're not allowed to plow. You're not allowed to help the guy in klayim. You're allowed to uproot the roots of to get rid of the tifla. Get rid of the climb. Sorry, not orla. The climb is not Aveda. So you want to get rid of the climb. You're allowed to. Now, You want the climb, the tree, to be upstanding until you get rid of it. Because if the tree falls down, you have nothing. Now, there's a machlekes, Rabbi Akiva and the Chachamim. You're not allowed to plant climb. You're not allowed to do anything to improve climb. Is there an Easter of just making sure that it stays, that doesn't fall apart? Machlekes the Aruch and Rashi, just wanting it to stay and not doing anything to destroy it is an Aveda? Or Dafka, according to Rabbi Akiva, or Dafka, if you put a fence around it. You have to do a Maisa, some kind of a Maisa. And Taisus makes an unbelievable Chiddush. Unbelievable Chiddush, which the Taisus knows you're dying, but I remember this Taisus here. Totally unrelated. But Taisus says here, L'chayda, Kalav she'ema Maisa, according to the Aruch. What's going on here? We didn't get Malchus. All the Aruch says, you just want the tree to be upstanding. You're ready over for being Mekayim the climb. What you do? Nothing. So if you hold the Kiva hold the Rashi Marcus, the lav she'ain by Maisa ain't liking the love. What's going on there? The taste makes an unbelievable chiddush. Over here, your machshava is you want to treat the Mekayim, right? You don't get Malchus for that. But then when you went ahead and destroyed it, you just did a Maisa to destroy it. A good thing. But that Maisa tells us because you destroyed it, you wanted it to be up. So we take the Maisa of a good Maisa, we connect it to the machshava of a bad machshava, and we turn that machshava into a Maisa, and therefore you get Malchus.
How do you know that it is machshava?
That itself, that act. You said you were hired.
Every time a guy destroys an Avodah Zarah, you really wanted it to.
Yeah, exactly. That's the question. That's the most question. Because you wanted to be Mekayim it until that moment. In fact, you're not allowed to. We'll see if you're being hired. But that's exactly it. But you hear the Chiddush. The Maisa itself is a good Maisa. In fact, it's a myth. It's a good Maisa. The Machshava is a bad Machshava, and we're going to take the Maisa and connect it to the Machshava.
We said before that they didn't do it.
No, that's what we're going to talk about. If that shit is only according to the Chachamim who hold there's no Aveda, or even according to Rabbi Akiva who says that's exactly what we're talking about. But this Mortal Tesh, because if you're saying there, it talks about Nozer, and we use the Shagazah, you use it about Tzitzis, you do a Maisa later, or whatever, about the Bracha, and so on. The Maisa of later connects to what you did before. Oh, you say, okay, let's see the Gemara. Now, the Gemara, what's the Chiddush of it? It must be according to Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva holds, generally speaking, Hamakayim Mekayim Loika. You get Malchus for being Mekayim Climb, and we're telling you over here that you're allowed to help to destroy it. Why? Because even though you're being Mekayim, but in this case, the mitzvah of destroying it allows you to be Mekayim. It's exactly, that's why Tabla Bracha and all that. Even according to Rabbi Akiva, that you're doing something wrong, but since ultimately you're doing something right, you're allowed to. The Tanya learned if you cover over the dirt and what you're eating, like you get Malchus, only if you do a Maisa with the climb to improve it. And Rabbi Akiva says, Afa Mekayim. You're just Mekayim. But Rashi says Mekayim means you built a fence around it. You have to do a Maisa. If the Aruch says, just thinking, you want the tree to exist, is already over, and you get Malchus, and that's the Tesh's problem. When you get Malchus, and according to Moses Shainim, Rabbi Akiva holds Lav She'em Maisa ain't liking love. That's what Tesa makes a big finish. Tesa there, Rabbi Akiva. My time, Rabbi Akiva. What's Rabbi Akiva? Oh my cross. And the pasuk, how does Rabbi Akiva know that even you just wanting it? So the pasuk, Sadcha le'sizra climb. Ain't le'eluzreya. So you have to, a plant. Mikayim and just leaving it there and you should stay. Talmud Loim, it says loy climb. What do you mean loy climb? The first part of the pasuk says behemtecha loy sabir climb, and instead of saying loy sizra besatcha climb, it says sadcha loy sizra. So we connect the sadcha to the first part of behemtecha loy, and we say that what loy climb sadcha. Don't even leave climb in your field. That's how Rabbi Akiva darshans. The ilu lemutet tifla shari, but yet we allow, even according to Rabbi Akiva, we allow you want to get rid of the nonsense. No raya from here. Who said? You want to say by Yain Nesech, which is an Isat, everyone holds an Isat to Mekayim Yain Nesech, that you're allowed to Mekayim it in order to destroy it. And you bring an eye from here and you're saying goes according to Rabbi Akiva. It's an Aveda, but you destroy it. Who said goes to Rabbi Akiva? Hamani Rabbanani. Meifaz Rabban holds no Aveda here. But you might have no Aveda Rabban. What do you have to tell me? That you're allowed to continue keeping the tree if you want to destroy it. If you don't want to destroy it, you're allowed to keep the tree. I feel like it's always good. My skin going to no, there's a different Easter involved. You know what that Easter is? You're working for free. And when we had, like Sechanim, Rabbi Yehuda holds, you're not allowed to work for free. Rabbi Yehuda, the Amar, Rabbi Yehuda said, we had early on, it says, Lo Sechanim, and I'll give them for free. And that's a Chiddush. You're working for free, so it's an Easter. But if you're doing it in order to get rid of a bad thing, that's a climb, you're allowed to. So the same thing about Avodah Zarah. The Gemara says, Rabbi Yehuda said it's an Aveda, but because you're doing a good thing, you're allowed to. So the same thing should apply to Rabbi Akiva as well. It's an Aveda to want to have climb, but if you want to destroy it, you're allowed to. I'll give him free. I will put tifla shapadam if you're doing in order to get rid of a shtus, you're allowed to. If they're given nami, keep the same thing. Avagav them kiva makayim like you get malchus. Or belamut tifla shapadam, you're allowed to. But sula midi, no more discussion. So wait on rule. Don't have to make kashas. I just answer yourselves. Even though it's an aveda to hold it, but if you're doing it to destroy it, you're allowed to. But that taste of the sword is I wanted the whole sugas in that chagataya, but I didn't come across anyone bringing on this taste. This is mamish like you're doing a maisa, a mitzvah, but you could have a machshava and avera. We put it all together and we mix it all together. You know, there's in the Haggadah it says ve'ekras avicha me'ever hanor. But there's a big tamachachim, a big misnagid, a Eisel Chorif, and the Ida Kodesh. Which one of them was a chassid lublina? The two of them, one of them was a chassid lublina, and he used to come back every year and have discussions with Rabbi Eisel. Rabbi Eisel once says, "I heard a word from your Rebbe. He klept nicht von einem morgen." He says, "Ve'ekach will take us avichem your machshavas, avichem is your desire, your machshavas, me'aver from aveda el anor to mitzvah." What's he talking about? So the Ida Kodesh said, "Oh, thank you so much. You just answered me a question I always had." It says that when a person does tshuva, ma'ava, all your avedas become mitzvah. It says by a yid, not like by a goy who had a kedushin, but by a yid, machshava ra, ain't a kodesh baruch hu mitzaref l'maisa. Bad machshavas don't combine to maisa. So what about a guy who has a lot of bad machshavas? A yid doesn't combine, but he did tshuva. So his machshava ra become machshava tevis. So now they become like a maisa. So now they become, or we say no, machshava ra they disappear. So there's nothing here. Now you told me, well, take all your machshavas, your bad ones, me'aver from aveda. Oh, beautiful. So therefore, but this place is here to say that a good ma'aseh connect to the machshava and turn it bad.
So a good ma'aseh, and you're going to hold it against.
Yeah, and you're turning it bad, not turning it good. Your ma'aseh is counteracting your machshava.
Actually,
yeah. Well, you see right here. This is the Shittas Aruch. Shittas Aruch in the Gemara. Anyhow, we'll see.